Hello. Hi, I'm Jeremy, the Zoo Nerd, coming to you live from my backyard in beautiful Los Angeles, California. I hope you're doing well today. I hope you're happy. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're having some fun. Today's kind of a special day at Critter Chat because today marks number 50 for our episodes. Yep, that's right. 50 episodes of Critter Chat have happened, which means that this has been going on for a while. So if you have missed any of the previous Critter Chats, look for full episodes on the Facebook profile or on our YouTube channel, and you can catch up on any of those. So in case you are wondering what other animals I've talked about in Critter Chat, I'll quickly review. We've talked about bears, rhinos, seals, giant tortoises, elephants, the cat family, vultures, octopus and cephalopods, giraffes, wolves, zebras, ostrich, hyenas, sea turtles, bison, primates in general, lorikeets, African painted dogs, beavers, penguins, hippos, unicorns, crocodiles, rabbits, cheetahs, marsupials, eagles, pigs, jellies, lemurs, hornbills, otters, sea otters, Earth Day, dolphins, lions, komodos, dragons, amphibians, tapirs, flamingos, porcupines, toucans, sea stars, jaguars, orangutans, platypus and echidna, okapis, black-footed ferrets, and clownfish. Today being the 50th, today being Catterday, or a day to celebrate cats, we're going to talk about one of the most iconic species in the world. Today, we're talking about tigers. So sit back, enjoy, and have some fun. Tigers are the largest of all cat species. They have often been important parts in our art, in our music, in our storytelling. They're important symbols for the government, religious symbols sometimes, cultural symbols. They even appear on boxes of cereal. So tigers are pretty important on a worldwide scale. Now there is one species of tiger, but there were 9 different subspecies, and that's disputed. Some scientists argue that that's not the way to organize them, but the science I'm listening to says that there were 9. I say were because 3 have become extinct, and those 3 became extinct rather recently. The first of those that became extinct were the tigers on the island of Bali in 1937. So that was a while ago, still less than 100 years. More recently, the Caspian tiger became extinct in the 1970s. That tiger was really interesting because it moved further west than any of the other tiger species, coming as far as some of the Middle East countries like Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and the area of Central Asia around the Caspian Sea, all west of India. So really interesting tiger there. And then also in the 1980s, another island species of tiger called the Javan tiger became extinct. And if we can learn anything from those 3 subspecies that have gone extinct, hopefully it's the importance of tigers in their ecosystem and the importance of saving endangered species. So there are 6 species of tigers remaining. Those are in order of size: the Amur tiger, which is the biggest. That is sometimes called the Siberian tiger, although it used to live in parts of Siberia. The area of Russia where it mostly lives now is not in Siberia, so they renamed it to the Amur, A-M-U-R, after a river there called the Amur River, and the valley and the mountains around that area. That is a tiger species that is the furthest north dwelling of all tigers. That tiger does live in a snowy environment, in kind of a evergreen or pine tree type forest. Very cold nights, sometimes very cold days, and that tiger is quite a bit bigger than the other tiger species. Male tiger in that subspecies can be up to 660 pounds and can be about 10 feet long. So it is a huge animal. That's quite a bit bigger than lions, in case you're wondering. Lions usually top out in like the 400-pound range or so. The next biggest tiger is called the Bengal tiger. That is also the most common tiger that is left. Bengal tigers live in India and the next door country called Bangladesh. Um, there are about 2,500 Bengal tigers left, and yet that's the most. That's pretty grim. There's not too many of any tiger species, but 2,500 being the most subspecies. That's the Bengal tiger. Bengal tigers are still good size. They're about the size of lions, so they typically weigh in like the 400-pound range. They can be about 9 feet in length. Next is the most endangered subspecies of tiger still alive, called the South China tiger. This tiger lives only in the southern portion of China. Scientists think that it is extinct in the wild and that it only exists in a couple of zoos in China, with numbers probably in the 40s or less. That's really sad. And there's the area it lives in is pretty hard to get into, so there hasn't been a lot of science or research done in that area. There could be some wild tigers of the South China subspecies, but it's pretty slim. The next is called the Indo-Chinese tiger. So this is a tiger that lives in parts of like Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, that area, a little bit into China as well. And then just below that is another tiger called the Malayan tiger. Those two tiger subspecies were just separated from each other genetically by science in 2004, where they said that those are different enough that they're different subspecies. The Malayan tiger lives in the very south portion of Thailand and onto the Malay Peninsula. And then there is one tiger species that lives on an island that is left. That is the Sumatran tiger, and that is the smallest of all tigers. The Sumatran tiger weighs in at about 310 pounds max. So it's still a huge animal, right? 310 pounds is good size, and they are about 8 feet long. Interestingly, the Sumatran tiger is the brightest colored orange of all tigers, and the biggest one, the Amur tiger, is the most pale orange. So it's the picture I posted earlier today on Facebook and Instagram. That is an Amur tiger. That is a tiger in a zoo. That tiger lives at the zoo in Berlin, in Germany. But there are many Amur tigers in zoos in the United States, particularly a zoo in a colder climate. We'll focus more on Amur tigers. With all tigers, across all those subspecies, each animal has a unique stripe pattern. Now, there are kind of some generalizations about the stripes in the different subspecies. So Amur tigers generally have pretty big, wide stripes, and they have the fewest number of stripes of any tiger. And on the flip side of that, the Sumatran tigers have the narrowest stripes. They're the smallest also, and they have the most number of stripes. Typically, there's going to be a Sumatran tiger that has less stripes than an Indo-Chinese tiger. It's going to happen, but in general, that's the way it works out. Tigers are pretty adaptive to their environment. So a lot of tigers live in like a jungle setting or a forest setting. Many of the tigers live in kind of warmer places, but some definitely live in some cold areas, including the Amur tigers that live in Russia and a little bit into northern China and into North Korea possibly. Those tigers definitely live in some cold spaces. Most tigers live kind of in that middle zone of temperate or tropical forest, especially the Bengal tigers in India and the South China tigers, and a little bit the Indo-Chinese tigers. And then more tropical, of course, with the Malayan tigers and Sumatran tigers. Tigers generally live in a forested area, places with lots of trees, lots of bushes, and that is because they are ambush predators. They like to be able to sneak up on their prey. They don't chase them for extended distances, not like a cheetah. They're going to kind of sneak in as close as possible and then kind of pounce out of the bushes or do a short run across a meadow to get their prey species. Now, most tigers are going to eat some pretty good sized animals, mostly going after things like deer or pig species, but occasionally going after things that may be bigger or smaller or a little bit different. So occasionally they'll go after things like a water buffalo or maybe a small elephant, possibly a baby rhino in areas where there's rhinos, or smaller things like monkeys, small mammals, They have been known to attack and kill bears in some of their area and other small mammals, and occasionally go after things like birds or reptiles if they're desperate. Tigers generally live alone. They are solitary. This is true with most cat species. The exceptions are lions and cheetahs to a lesser degree. But tigers are generally alone unless it's a male and a female that have come together for breeding. They will stay together for maybe a week, or a mom raising her cubs. The cubs will stay with the mom for up to 2 years. So they may be a little more social during that time. And sometimes when the cubs leave their mom, they may stick together as a little group. Typically the boys will stay with the boys, the girls may stay with the girls as they go off on their life alone. But although they're solitary, communication is very important for tigers. They do some vocal communication that would include things like roaring and some kind of softer sounds called chuffing. Tiger chuffs are really cute. I'll see if I can find a video of it. It's kind of a sign if a male and a female tiger come together for potential breeding. Chuffing is the sound that they usually make with each other. A mom will also make chuffing sounds with her cubs. It's kind of a reassurance type sound, like, hey, you're okay, we're cool, that kind of thing. A tiger roar is pretty loud. It can be almost as loud as a lion's roar. It's used for the same sort of general reason, to kind of say, this is my space, this is my territory, don't come over here. Unless, like, the tiger roaring is a male and he's trying to find a female to meet up for breeding, it will also communicate that. They also communicate in some non-verbal ways. So there's some definite body language if they can see each other. That would include things like their ear positions, so they can kind of perk their ears up, they can lay their ears back, they can move their ears a little bit side to side. Those all have meanings. Definitely some facial expression if they're showing their teeth at all. That will sometimes be an indication that they may not be so happy. And then they also communicate through some sense of smell communication. This would be done in a couple of different ways, and if you have a house cat, you may have noticed that your house cat communicates through some of these ways as well, including peeing to mark their territory. Tigers will definitely do that. They will also kind of walk around the edges of their territory and try to cover those edges within a couple days' time. And as they go around, they'll pee in different spots and also poop. They have a scent gland that comes out when they poop that also helps mark their territory. And then they'll also kind of scratch on some of the trees nearby and kind of tear those up a little bit. And that leaves a little scent mark as well. So tigers going through the forest, especially a tiger who maybe doesn't have a territory yet, may smell some of those markings and say, oh, this space is taken, I'll keep going. Tigers have really impressive teeth. Their big, long canine teeth, the ones that they use to kill their prey, are 3 inches in length, which are some of the biggest teeth of any predator out there. So good sized teeth. They're really pretty. Their teeth have caused some problems with people trying to kill them to get their teeth. But their teeth are definitely very important to them in killing their prey and finding food for them and their cubs. They also have excellent night vision. It's estimated that their vision at night is 6 times better than the vision of humans. So they do a lot of their hunting in the dark or right around sunset or sunrise. The cover of darkness also helps them to hide a little better, as well as their striped coats. We've talked a little bit about camouflage and camouflage in a forest, and definitely as sunlight filters down through trees, the striping pattern on their coat will help them to hide a bit in their forest. Sorry, my trees are shedding on me right now. They also are excellent swimmers, and that's kind of rare for a cat, but tigers, jaguars, and a little cat, or a medium-sized cat called a fishing cat, those are really the only 3 kinds of cats that prefer to go in water or will willingly go in water. Most cats can swim, they just don't really enjoy it too much. Tigers seem to actually enjoy it. They use it as a way to keep cool when it's really hot, but they will also use it if there's an important way to cross their territory, or if they're looking for new home range. They will definitely be able to cross pretty big bodies of water. They've documented tigers being able to swim across like a lake that's 5 miles wide. So they are excellent swimmers. Also with their night vision, that is something we've talked about a little bit with some other predator species. We talked about with black-footed ferrets and with jaguars. They have that little mirror in the back of their eye. That's called a tapetum lucidum. So I say it's a mirror. It's not really a mirror. It works like a mirror. It's part of their body. It helps reflect the light that comes into their eyes and makes their eyes really glow at night. That is sometimes called eye shine, but the technical science word for it is tapetum lucidum, which always sounds like a Harry Potter spell to me, but that's how they're able to see so well at night. So let's talk a little bit about moms with babies. So after breeding, the mom tiger is pregnant, or her gestation period is about 100 days. So not too long compared to a lot of other animals. So then she will give birth, usually for most tiger moms, it's 2 to 4 cubs, although 7 have been documented multiple times, and occasionally it's only 1 cub. When it's 1 cub, that cub tends to be pretty spoiled and grow up pretty quick, but that may be an indicator that the mom has had kind of a stressful year, or that food is not very prevalent in that area, and it's kind of nature's way of saying, hey, 1 baby's going to be about all you're going to be able to take care of. Let's start with that and see where it goes. Typically, baby tigers have a high mortality rate. That means that although multiple babies are born, they don't all survive. There are other things that would try to kill baby tigers. Sometimes that includes other adult tigers. So their mortality is kind of high. Baby tigers don't always survive to become adult tigers. If they do survive to be an adult at about 2 or 3 years of age, they usually have a pretty good chance of living a decent life, provided they don't get in trouble with people. Wild tigers can typically live to be about 10 or 12 years old. Tigers in like a zoo setting can sometimes live into their 20s. So again, they live a little longer in a zoo because they have medical care, they don't have to hunt and kill their own food, and they don't have competition from other predators that may hurt them. So all those things kind of add up to a longer lifespan in a zoo setting. All tiger species are considered endangered, with multiple subspecies considered critically endangered. I talked earlier that the South China tiger, they think, is only about 40 animals left. So that one is definitely a critically endangered. And I believe the Sumatran, Indochinese, Malayan, and Amur tiger are also all considered critically endangered, with the Bengal tiger being listed as endangered. So that's pretty sad. They are definitely a symbol of a lot of things in life, but there aren't nearly as many as there used to be. Around 1900, their estimated population of global tigers was around 100,000. Today, it's estimated to be about 3,500, which is definitely a big change over about a 120-year period. The 3,500 has actually gone up in recent years across some populations. So it was down around 2,200 for a while, but then they kind of found a new forest that had some tigers, and they realized some tigers live in the Himalaya mountains that they had not previously been counting. And then in some areas, they're actually increasing in population, specifically the Bengal tigers in areas of India and Bangladesh. Their populations are doing remarkably better than they were. So they are doing much better. They are protected in all of their range countries. All those countries have said, yes, we agree, tigers are important. We will put laws on the books. We will protect them. We will create sanctuaries or national parks for them to live in where they can be safe. And we will make it illegal to hunt or kill a tiger. But laws are not always enforced. Poaching is still a very important threat to tigers across many parts of its range. Um, in addition to being highly respected by many cultures in the world, parts of tigers are also very sought after by a lot of different people. So sometimes they are killed for their skin, or their claws, or their teeth, or their bones, or different body parts. Even their whiskers are supposed to have special medicinal properties. And so they are sometimes hunted for those various body parts and then sold illegally on a black market to people who are willing to pay good money for tigers, which has caused problems for tigers and also many other animals. Sometimes other animals are killed in the process of people trying to find or hunt tigers. Also, human and tiger conflict is an issue in areas like India that has a huge population of people, and people are getting further and further out as the cities are growing, and people growing food to feed those people are even beyond the cities. Sometimes a tiger may kill livestock, or a tiger may be seen near a village, and the people may be scared and try to kill the tiger, or worried that the tiger may hurt their goats or cows. And the tiger may be killed for those purposes as well. Also, a big problem facing tigers is habitat destruction. With the global demand for things like lumber and paper, many forests are being cut down. Also, to feed a growing global human population, a lot of animals like pigs and deer are becoming less and less common, and then there's less for the tigers to eat. That sometimes means the tigers then start to turn to eating livestock, and then the people get mad, and then the tiger gets killed, and all sorts of problems can ensue from that. Also, habitat fragmentation is a big problem. Tigers need pretty big home territories. One tiger will not tolerate another tiger living in its space. So they each kind of need their big piece of the forest to be their home range. And if the forest gets smaller and smaller, maybe there's only 2 or 3 tigers that live in a forest, and it's a long distance to other forests, then sooner or later there won't be any tigers there, because they'll all be related to each other and won't be able to breed with other tigers. So there's a lot of problems facing tigers. There's also a lot of people trying to do some really good, important work with tigers. During the last year of the tiger, which is a year celebrated on the Chinese lunar calendar, they celebrate 12 different animals over a 12-year period. And during the last year of the tiger, they had a big world summit for all the countries that have tigers living wild in their countries. They came together, they all signed an agreement to work together to make sure tigers have a safe place to live, and to do a lot of work to help prepare for more tigers to live in those places. Now, some places have been more successful with that than others, but they all did sign an agreement to make that a priority. So the next year of the tiger, I believe, starts in the year 2022. Their goal was to double the tiger population between 2012 and 2022. That's not very far from now. It doesn't look likely that they'll reach that goal, but they have made progress and improvements. So we celebrate the small wins in conservation, even if it doesn't get quite to where we need it to. But today's special shout out is an organization called the Tiger Conservation Campaign. It is led by some U.S. zoos. They've taken it very personally to help try to protect and save tigers. In the United States Zoo Institution came together and said, hey, in the US, we'll work with these 3 subspecies of tigers. Those are the Amur tigers, that's the ones that live in the cold weather, and the Malayan tigers and the Sumatran tigers, so 2 tropical subspecies of tigers. So if you're going to a zoo in the US and it's a warmer weather place, you'll most likely see either Malayan or Sumatran tigers. If you're going to a colder weather zoo, you'll most likely see an Amur tiger species or subspecies. And all of those zoos are trying to work to raise funds to send to some of these government agencies, national parks, and other places that are doing a lot to try to save tigers, educate the local people, and get them involved in helping tigers as well. And I also like to talk about some of my personal experiences with tigers. I have never seen a tiger in the wild. I have not been to a country where tigers live in the wild. So that's something I hope to happen in my lifetime, but it has not happened as of yet. But at the different zoos that I've worked with, we've had tigers in all of those zoos. I remember in my early days as a volunteer working at Utah's Hogle Zoo, they had just built a new exhibit for their tigers at the time I worked there. And I would arrive before the zoo was open, which was always kind of a fun and exciting time. And the one morning as I was walking in, I walked past the brand new exhibit where the tigers were, and I felt this very, very eerie feeling that I was being watched. And I looked throughout the tiger exhibit to see if the tiger was watching me, and I couldn't find the tiger. And then as I got kind of to the edge, I turned around to look one last time, and the tiger was really high up on this very special place that they had built to kind of help the tigers move from their outside yard into their building. And it was hanging out on that bridgeway and just really low down to the log, so only its eyes and ears were hanging out to where it could see me, but it had been watching me for a really long time. And although I was a little scared, I was totally safe because it was inside its enclosure. But it was definitely something where I felt like I was definitely being stalked by an apex predator, and it was kind of a thrilling moment, and definitely helped me gain further respect for what a predator can and will do, because it got into that spot without me seeing it or hearing it, and it was very good at watching me while I walked past. During my time at the Phoenix Zoo in Arizona, just before I started there, we had gotten in a new male tiger. He was pretty young. He was about 3 or 4 when he moved to that zoo, which meant that he was just becoming mature enough to potentially have babies. He has not had he and his partner tigers have not had babies in that time. They're still hoping that could happen. But he was a very magnificent tiger to watch over the years that I worked there. He was one of the first tigers that I've really been able to see that's climbed trees. He's exceptionally good at it. He would often climb about 20 feet off the ground in a very large tree in his exhibit. So you would sometimes go by his exhibit and not be able to see him. And then you would have to look up and you would see him up in a tree, which was pretty scary, but also showed the remarkable ability for them to climb and the power and strength in their body to be able to go up a tree. Was really, really fascinating to be able to observe. During my time at the Los Angeles Zoo and during my days when I was training to become a zookeeper there, I worked a little bit with the keepers who took care of the tigers. I definitely was more involved with keepers that took care of the other large cats, so the tigers were a real rare thing for me to work with. But I would deliver food around the zoo once I was employed there. And every time I would come by the backside of where the tigers lived, the tigers would always kind of stalk me, just like that tiger in Utah at the Hogle Zoo had done. And it was definitely a very scary feeling to kind of know you're being watched, but not know where you're being watched from. But that's the greatness of a tiger and all ambush predators. I hope you've enjoyed what I've shared with you today about tigers. I'll be putting up some more information on the Facebook profile and possibly the Instagram later today, so make sure to watch for that. As always, like, follow, and subscribe. Share this content with family, friends, anyone who you think might enjoy some of the Zoo Nerd content. And tomorrow there will be no Critter Chat. I'm trying to do that in some efforts to kind of help myself be comfortable and happy. On Sundays, I'm going to take off from doing Critter Chats so I can focus on other projects. So I'll be doing Critter Chats 6 days a week, not on Sundays, just to kind of give myself a little break from things. So I will not be on Critter Chat tomorrow, but I will be back on Monday. So I will see you then. All right, until then, take care, be happy, be healthy, be safe. See ya. Bye.